Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a seriously chilling supernatural story. One that perfectly blends classic urban legends with some truly visceral horror. We're breaking down Chapter 2, The Whispering Phone Booth. If you're into dissecting how authors craft suspense and pure fear, well, you're in exactly the right place. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this narrative. We're going to look at how the characters, the creepy environment, and the incredibly strict rules of a ghost story all come together to build the perfect trap. Let's get into it.
Okay, I want you to picture this for a second. You're standing outside in the dead of night, and there's this thick, freezing fog swirling right around your ankles. You're staring at an old, completely abandoned phone booth, one where the wires were slashed years ago, and then it starts ringing. What would you do? Seriously, would you answer it? This is the exact heart-pounding scenario our main characters are thrown into, and it drops us right into the thick of the horror.
All right, Part 1, The Legend of the Suicide Booth and its incredibly dark history. So think about the sheer level of isolation going on here. This isn't just your run-of-the-mill creepy phone booth near a park. The locals actually call it the Suicide Booth. Its reputation is so heavily cursed, so undeniably dark, that the text points out even stray dogs will completely avoid the area once the sun goes down. Nobody walks past it anymore. This creates a massive perimeter of total isolation. So when our characters step into this zone, they are completely, entirely on their own.
The author paints just a brilliantly atmospheric picture for us here. You've got this cold fog crawling along the ground, wrapping around the rusty metal frame of the booth. And into this nightmare walks Keitaro. He's terrified, trailing behind this mysterious little girl named Yayoi, who, by the way, has these chilling, skull-like eyes. But the really crucial detail? It's Keitaro's right hand. It's wrapped in bandages, and as they get closer to that rusty booth, his hand physically begins to burn. It's a fantastic narrative device. His hand is literally acting as a supernatural proximity alarm, letting us know that otherworldly evil is agonizingly close.
Moving right along to Part 2, The Rules of the Deadly Call.
Now, the fascinating thing is how methodically Yayoi explains this curse to a terrified Keitaro. She treats it like a strict science experiment. Step 1, you have to be inside exactly at 1 a.m. Step 2, the dead phone will ring and you absolutely must pick it up. Step 3, you'll hear the voice of a woman who took her own life in that exact booth. She'll ask you one single question. If you answer it wrong, or if you freeze up and can't answer at all, your lungs will instantly fill with icy water and you'll drown right there on dry land. It's a simple but terrifyingly high-stakes trap.
Which brings us to Part 3, The Anatomy of the Supernatural Trap. This is where it all goes down.
Keitaro wants nothing more than to just turn around and run. The air is so heavy it practically feels like jelly. But then, his watch beeps. It is exactly 1 a.m. And in the dead silence of that park, a harsh, metallic ringing completely shatters the quiet. Inside that ruined booth, with its visibly slashed wires, the old rotary phone is ringing frantically. And honestly, the worst part? The screen of the phone lights up with this sickly, dirty green glow. Following Yayoi's orders, Keitaro steps inside and picks up the receiver.
He doesn't hear a dial tone, obviously. Instead, he hears this awful, wet sound, like someone desperately trying to breathe underwater. And then a hoarse, gurgling woman's voice asks, "Who is guilty of my death?" The delivery of this line in the text is incredibly suffocating. You can practically feel the dampness and the raw despair radiating right out of the receiver.
But before Keitaro can even begin to process the question, bam, the trap springs. The text hits us with a rapid-fire succession of horrors. Instantly, the glass windows of the booth completely frost over. Keitaro feels an invisible freezing grip slam right around his throat. And just like the legend promised, phantom water floods his lungs. He is literally drowning on dry land, totally unable to speak. And to top it all off, right outside the frosted glass, the bloated, blue silhouette of a drowned woman with rotting fingers starts to manifest.
And finally, Part 4, Dynamics of Fear and Power. Things are about to take a wild turn.
Think about the sharp contrast happening right here. On one hand, you have Keitaro representing total human vulnerability. He's paralyzed, he's suffocating, he is entirely at the mercy of this ghost. But on the other hand, you have Yayoi. Just as Keitaro is on the verge of dying, the booth door violently bangs open and in steps the little girl. She isn't scared at all. In fact, those skull-like eyes of hers are burning with this predatory fire. She lunges forward, armed not with, a normal weapon, but with a brand new plush bear that literally has a sharp ritual knife attached to it.
She completely ignores the ghost's riddle. She doesn't cower, she doesn't play the game. Instead, she totally shatters the ghost's rules. She yells with this harsh, commanding authority, "Your death is only your fault, and now you will obey me." It is such an incredible moment. She utterly rejects the ghost's narrative of being a victim and violently forces her own dominance over the spirit.
And the result is immediate and honestly shocking. The text describes this horrific, inhuman scream coming from the ghost. Instantly, the phantom water vanishes from Keitaro's lungs and he collapses to the floor, just gasping for air. Then, that blue, rotting entity is violently vacuumed right into Yayoi's plush bear. The narrative gives us this wonderfully creepy little detail. The stitches on the bear actually stretch out for a second, like something is thrashing around inside, before finally going totally still. The toy suddenly becomes super heavy and cold as ice. Which brings us to a slightly messed up, but really fascinating revelation about their teamwork. As Yayoi nods in satisfaction, holding this freezing plushie, she turns and says, "First one down." "Not a bad catch, Keitaro. Your aura worked perfectly." That's right. Keitaro wasn't brought along to be a helpful sidekick. His cursed burning hand made him the perfect, literal ghost bait. He was the lure, and Yayoi was the hunter just waiting to spring the trap. It's a brilliantly grim dynamic that really sets the stage for everything else in the story.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's the absolutely incredible psychological toll this partnership demands. Keitaro is sitting there on the floor of the booth, gasping for breath, realizing that his first nightmare with this strange girl is over, but it's only the very beginning of a long, incredibly dark journey. So I'll leave you with this thought. If surviving these encounters requires Keitaro to constantly use his own sheer terror and cursed aura as bait, how long can a normal person possibly endure this path before it totally breaks them? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating story with me today. Keep asking questions, keep analyzing, and I will catch you in the next explainer.